G'day guys, my name is CJ. This is the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and I think we finally got ourselves a true Android iPhone. Let's take a look. Over the past couple of months, the Pixel 9 Pro XL has been my main phone, which meant it came with me on an overseas trip to Japan, Korea, and Singapore. Traveling was the perfect way to test all it has to offer, from hardware like its camera and battery, to its software and AI brains with navigation and translation. So let's break down exactly how it went. But before we get started, first impressions matter, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL definitely made an impression on me, starting with the unboxing experience, which the whole box now is a completely compostable package. Love that. But I especially love this new, sleek, boxy and minimalist design. You've got a polished aluminium frame that has really subtle curved edges that makes it surprisingly comfortable to hold despite how big it is. You've got matte glass on the rear, and a truly unique pill-shaped camera bump on the back that extends the entire width of the phone. I guess Google are truly leaning into this pill-shaped design that we've seen glimpses of since the Pixel 7 series. This hump is quite pronounced, and I'm actually a fan of how Google really leans into this boxy aesthetic with sharper edges. I think it gives it a really sophisticated and refined look, don't you? It feels fantastic in the hand despite its size, and it's got a really solid build that just oozes quality, emphasized even more thanks to its really clicky, solid power button and volume buttons on the side. But for me, the real catcher here is that display. The Pixel 9 Pro XL boasts a massive 6.8-inch OLED display with a Quad HD dynamic 120Hz refresh rate. So of course this means scrolling through websites, social media, and even playing games is incredibly smooth and responsive. And on top of that, the flat and completely uniform bezels all around helps it ooze that same quality. This, with the combination of squared off edges in design, is just classy in my eyes. And just to top it off, finally we've got an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor on the front, which is streets ahead of the previous optical models in both speed and accuracy. Plus, the fact that it doesn't need to be lit up in the darkness of night is an added plus. And of course, the OLED screen has vibrant and punchy colors. It's got great viewing angles as you'd expect from a flagship device. The blacks are deep and inky, but for me the biggest surprise was the brightness, which is now up to an insane 2,469 nits. So naturally, even in the direct sunlight in the summer heat of Japan and Korea, it was still super clear and legible. Whether I was using Google Maps to navigate the utterly confusing Shinjuku station or editing photos late at night in bed, the Pixel 9 Pro XL's display was an absolute joy to look at. Now under the hood, the 9 Pro XL is powered by Google's latest Tensor G4 processor, paired with 16 gigs of RAM, and starts at 128 gigs of storage if you're happy with the black model. All other colors start at 256 gigs. Now when it comes to benchmarking, the G4 is not a huge step up from the G3, which admittedly was also not a huge step up from the G2, so it doesn't quite hold a candle to the latest Snapdragons from Qualcomm, but despite that, I never really experienced any lag or stuttering even when running demanding apps like Lightroom, or if I was just multitasking a whole ton. And whilst it isn't as powerful as the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip we see in phones like the S24 Ultra here, it's still no slouch. It loads apps quickly, it boots and restarts just as quick as any other flagship, and it'll still play the most demanding games pretty well, and I'd be surprised if it would struggle to handle 99% of tasks that most people will need in a phone. Now whether it's gaming or productivity in the real world, it's perfectly fine and truly reflects how optimized the Pixel software is for its hardware. And speaking of software, no Pixel review would be complete without also mentioning the software, and the G4 at least has some AI cores that are supposed to enable on-system processing, given Google's big AI push with Gemini. So the Pixel 9 Pro XL, at the time of shooting this video, now runs Android 15, which is the latest iteration of Android, and it's more of an evolution rather than revolution in the grand scheme of Android updates. In any case, it's a clean, bloatware-free experience that's a pleasure to use. Now, the Pixel experience is a pretty well-trodden road now, and I still think it's one of the more elegant skins on the market. Now, it certainly doesn't necessarily pack as many customizable features in, but I think it nails a nice, unified and cohesive design language that's simple to use. Some nerds and maybe old Nexus fans are going to bemoan the Pixel's lack of customizability compared to other brands, but people love iOS for how simple and how beginner-friendly things are. And well, I mentioned it before, but the Pixel brand of Android in general is as close to Google has come to doing the same thing as iOS. Because with the 9 Pro series, it's never been easier to pick up and get started without friction, and you often can't say the same for devices from other Android brands. But like what we've seen with all the big players this year is that we've got AI integration into pretty much everything a phone can do. But what truly sets the Pixel range apart is its integration with its own AI technology, Gemini, and it's ready to go straight away. Combined with Gemini, the 9 Pro XL really shone. A lot of people probably won't even realize that AI is baked in natively, but I found that Gemini can enhance the phone's capabilities in a number of ways that aren't immediately obvious. Now, for me, a huge one was simply using Gemini to help with translating and communicating with people overseas. I could simply ask Gemini to translate a phrase in English to Japanese straight away when we needed to order food or get around. And one other super convenient feature we used a lot was in Korea. Now, if you've never been to South Korea, you'd be interested to learn, I know I was, that they love utilizing emergency notifications. Now, if you've ever lived in a region with extreme weather or are prone to various natural disasters, then you'll probably have seen some of these before. But in Korea, they'll send emergency notifications for all sorts of purposes, from warning about Kim Jong-un's rubbish balloons floating in from the north, to putting out a cry for assistance to find missing elderly persons. We probably receive about 5 or 6 of these throughout the day. And using Gemini and Circle to search, there's a convenient translate button right there when it's activated, and Gemini will just analyze what language it is and spit out in translation instantly. Now, without being a native speaker of the language, I can't vouch for its accuracy, but it at least made it easy and convenient for us to understand what these warnings were. But aside from providing more intelligent and personalized assistance with Google Assistant to enable things like advanced photo editing features with Magic Eraser and Photo Unblur, I simply found Gemini to be just really helpful, and more so than I expected on my travels, whether I was using Live Translate or just relying on Google Assistant to quickly find information about nearby attractions. Now, I've also had a chance to use some of the generative features like photo creation using Imagen 3, and it's been an interesting experience that is as quick or slow as you can expect, so long as you've got a reliable internet connection. And that's the general trend across the board with most of these AI features, because most of these AI features still require an internet connection largely, and whilst there's probably some stuff that's processed on board to make it slightly faster, the large bulk of processing is still done in the cloud. And it's another reason why Gemini has been available from the get-go, and even on older Pixel devices too. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Google can figure out a way for AI to be truly integrated into the phone in a compelling way. Now let's get to the heart of any Pixel phone, which are the cameras. The 9 Pro XL boasts a beefy triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel 5x telephoto lens. And I'm sure this isn't a surprise, but this camera system is just still excellent. Hardware isn't terribly different to the 8 Pro, but it at least still captures really beautiful shots. From the vibrant colors of street food to the intricate details of ancient temples, the Pixel 9 Pro XL was a champ and was an excellent tool to capture memories on our travels. Now, interestingly enough, I found that the Pixel was increasingly opting for a more neutral look without oversaturating the picture, which again is very iPhone-like. Now, some people might like this, others might not. It's a very personal preference. Me, on the other hand, I actually prefer this more neutral color because it means that I can do a little bit more to customize it and edit it the way I want it to. Now, the low light performance as well was particularly impressive, as you'd expect, with night sight producing incredibly detailed and well-lit photos even in near darkness. And you've got the new AI-powered super res zoom, which I found worked much better than I expected to capture distant subjects and retain pretty great detail. Now, the other interesting photo feature that they promoted was the group take. And whilst that was an interesting tool to use, I still found myself continually opting for a simple selfie photo just because it's simple. And also I find selfie photos do capture a slightly different vibe to something like group take. But of course, if you've got too many people that would fit in a selfie photo, then group take is still a really good option. Now, speaking of selfie photos, the Pixel 9 Pro XL has again a 12 megapixel autofocusing shooter that takes really pleasing selfie photos, and it's still definitely one of the better ones on the market. Also, I might be going crazy, but I feel that over the last couple of years, Google really has toned down on the over sharpening we used to see in some of their selfie photos, and I think photos look far more natural than they used to look. But overall, the photos that this camera takes is simply excellent, and you can't be surprised about that. But it's not just about its still photos. The Pixel 9 Pro also excels at video recording, with support up to 4K 60 frames per second. The Pixel has become more and more reliable for content creation, and I can completely vouch for the quality again this year. So in both good light and low light, the Pixel 9 Pro returned really great results, with video showing good detail, great color, and good stabilization, and even better if you allow it to upload to the cloud in order to do video boost. Unfortunately, when it comes to zooming though, the video still shows a little bit of jerkiness when it switches between the standard lens to other lenses, and this is especially obvious still when it switches over to the telephoto, showing that classic snap, especially when you see that instant change in sharpness of the image. This is probably the one only real weakness that I could see when it came to shooting video, but it's still a great shooter. Now, I was at the Singapore F1 Grand Prix, and being a night race was the perfect scenario to check out both its nighttime chops as well as slow motion. On top of this, the 9 Pro XL did a great job with recording its audio as well for a smartphone. Playing back videos from that night certainly don't make my ears bleed, and I think it did a great job capturing the sounds of the F1 engine zooming past us. Now, battery life this year is finally an area where the Pixel 9 Pro XL truly shines, and the XO1 in particular. The phone packs a 5000 mAh battery that easily lasted me a full day of heavy use, even whilst constantly taking photos, videos, and just navigating with GPS during my travels. And that's about as intense as testing can get. It gave me so much confidence that if I started at 100%, it'll comfortably see me through the entire day of sightseeing, and it truly did. I'd say it consistently hit about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, if not better. And when I did need to recharge, whilst it's not the fastest out there, the 37-watt wired fast charging was still more than quick enough to get me back to a more comfortable level. It also supports the new Qi 2 standard for wireless charging, which is 25 watts, but I'm still a little disappointed that this phone didn't incorporate a magnetic charging ring, as that's probably the main practical feature that's missing for me in this phone. It would have really sealed the deal as a true Pixel alternative to the iPhone if it had something similar to MagSafe. But of course, all this technology comes at a price. The Pixel 9 Pro XL is a premium smartphone with a starting price of $1849 Australian dollars for the black 128GB version. So that's a lot of money, but this is a lot of phone that gets a lot of things right. It's never been more premium, and it's probably the closest it's actually come to feeling like it's actually worth the price. However much you argue that any smartphone should cost this much. And so considering the phone's features and improvements from the 8 Pro with its build and battery life, plus all the AI capabilities, I think it's a pretty good value proposition. And so overall, my experience with the Pixel 9 Pro XL, both day-to-day here in Australia, as well as traveling in Asia, was nothing short of fantastic. This phone is a true all-rounder that excels in every area that matters, and is as close as we're going to get to an Android iPhone or a Pixel iPhone, as cliche as it sounds. It truly doesn't miss in anywhere that matters, and it basically boils down to whether or not you want the Pixel software experience and whether or not you can justify paying the price for this phone. For me, if you're a big phone enthusiast, this is one of the best phones out there, hands down. But what do you think? Do you think the Pixel 9 Pro XL is worth the price? Let me know why or why not in the comment section below, and say hello. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe for more, and ding the bell icon so you don't miss out. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.